Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to do my ranking of all the Star Wars films. Why? Well, look, I know it's a little late. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker was in theaters back in December. It's already March. Well, somebody asked me if I could do my ranking of the films, and I thought, why not? I was planning on doing it back in December, but for some reason things came around. I was a little lazy, and it didn't happen. So I have my list right here, though. My list is always ready to go. And I'm going to tell you guys my ranking of all the Star Wars movies. There are 12 of them. Let's get right into this. At number 12, I have The Clone Wars. Star Wars The Clone Wars. This was the animated movie, not the TV show. Yes, they did release a movie before the TV show was going to air, and this was the movie that introduced Ahsoka. Sorry, guys. That's Ahsoka Tano. And it had Christopher Lee reprising his role as Count Dooku, and Samuel Jackson as Mace Windu. It was the only time in the Clone Wars where they voiced those characters respectively. But for the most part, look, if you're gonna watch this as a movie, it's a terrible movie. If you're gonna put this in the theaters, I'm gonna judge it like any other movie. I'm gonna say this is a terrible movie. It was the only Star Wars movie where I can remember falling to sleep during. It was that bad. When you view it, though, as 3 episodes, I think it's a little bit better when you watch it at the comfort of your own home without, spending $15 on it to watch it on the big screen. I think it makes a very big difference. So if you were someone that never saw this in theaters and saw it at the comfort of your own home, you'll probably enjoy it a little bit more. As for me, there is not a hate, but there is a resentment towards it from me. And it's because I had to pay $15 to go and see this movie in the theater. I didn't have to. I chose to, but it was a choice that I regret. And because I could have spent my money on something better. And waited for this on DVD. And I probably would have enjoyed it more if I had waited, but I didn't, and there you go. Moving on to number 11, I have Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This is the first prequel to the Star Wars universe. I used to have this higher on my list, believe it or not. I was probably someone, as some people would say, who was drinking the Kool-Aid. Or maybe I was just the right age when this came out, because I still enjoy it to a degree. I do see the issues now with it, but some of those issues do not bother me as much. I'll admit, Jar Jar Binks is annoying. I don't think he's as annoying as most people make him out to be. I think, yeah, okay, he can, make too much noise, and make stupid jokes, but, kids like him, so who cares? Moving on. Oh, before I move on, I just want to say, also, Liam Neeson and Darth Maul, or Qui-Gon and Darth Maul, are great characters in this movie. Moving on, we have Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So a lot of people will say, oh, the Padme and Anakin scenes are, terrible. And yes, I'll agree they're really badly written and badly acted. I will say the Ewan McGregor stuff, him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, I thought that was actually the best stuff in the movie that gets overlooked because of the Anakin and Padme stuff. If you actually skip the Anakin and Padme stuff and follow the Obi-Wan stuff, it becomes like a mystery movie of Obi-Wan solving this crime that has happened, someone almost killing Padme in the beginning, and then him having to solve it on who did it. And it's not a whodunit movie, but it is cool seeing Obi-Wan do some detective work, which I thought was pretty cool. It's something that we never really got to see the Jedis do. And then, obviously, with Christopher Lee in the film, that brought some presence. I do like that scene between Obi-Wan and Count Dooku talking while Obi-Wan is he wasn't hung up, he was beamed up or something. Anyway, so yeah, there is some cool stuff in this one that I think, plus the Yoda fight scene was pretty cool. I remember when first seeing that, I was like, what? So moving on to number 9, I have Solo, A Star Wars Story. Solo, the prequel that we never really needed. I think Solo is well made. I paused there because I was thinking, do I want to say that? But yes, it was a well-made film. It was a safe choice getting Ron Howard to take over after Lord and Miller were fired. But yes, just like everybody else, it was something that we didn't really need because the stuff that they showed us, we already knew. Some of it we had in our heads, and it was fine. It was practically the same how we envisioned it. Some of it wasn't how we envisioned it and maybe should have kept that way, like the Kessel Run. But for the most part, I mean, it's an enjoyable little movie. I don't see any harm in it. Plus, the Darth Maul reveal at the end was really cool, especially now knowing what happens to him during Clone Wars and Rebels. I think, I would have actually preferred a sequel to Solo because I think the sequel would have done something we didn't see coming. Maybe put him on a different adventure that we never knew about, but that's not going to be happening anytime soon. Moving on to number 8, I have Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, this one is this low on my list, and I didn't hate the movie. I liked it, but I'm going to admit it was a little underwhelming, especially when you compare it to something like Avengers Endgame, which was a fantastic end to 23 years. This was supposed to be the end of the Skywalker saga, and yeah, there were some choices that I liked, but there were some choices that I feel lacked a little bit. Especially now that they're releasing a novel that confirms that apparently Rey's father is also a clone. You guys are killing me here. I mean, I'm supporting you, but you're giving me reasons to now, and I don't want to go there. I love you, and I'm going to keep you the way you are. I'm going to pretend Rey's father is actually someone, that he had a child with. Palpatine had a child with himself. Well, not by himself. He had a child. You know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, moving on to number 7, I have Rogue One. This was the first spin-off movie before Solo. Yes, Rogue One, a lot of people say this is their best, the Disney movie that's the best that Disney has done. I almost agree to that, obviously, since there's one more Disney Star Wars film that's not on here yet. But yes, Rogue One, in my opinion, starts off a little slow, and that's why it's not higher on my list. I get why a lot of people like it. The last 40 minutes are incredible, especially the Darth Vader moments. But for me, it's not enough to put it higher on the list. And that's why I have Rogue One right here in the middle. Moving on to number 6, I have the original Star Wars. Ooh, so this might cause a little bit of controversy. But yes, the original Star Wars, it's a great film. But I think it's a little overrated, personally. I think, come on guys, Star Wars can do better, and I think it has done better because there's still a couple of movies I haven't talked about yet. But look, don't kill me just because I put it at number 6. 6 out of 12, it's right in the middle. Come on, give me a break. Moving on to number 5, I have Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. How convenient. The movie that is practically a rehash of Episode 4 is the one that I put on top of Episode 4. I think this rehash is better than Episode 4. Deal with it. My opinion, I think Rey is a cool character. I think Finn was a cool character. I like the relationship in this one. I like old Han Solo. I like old Chewbacca hanging out with Han Solo. I like the reunion between Han and Leia. Could it have used more Luke? Well, we'll get to more Luke. Don't worry. And that will have fans crucify me probably for putting this one higher on the list. Moving on to number 4, I have Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. This was my favorite of the 3 for the longest time, and then I lowered it because the Ewoks kind of tarnished it for me as I got older. When I was younger, I really liked the Ewoks. When I got older, I was realizing, why is the Empire being beaten by cute little teddy bears? I don't get it. But I do like the stuff with Luke and Vader, and that's what really elevates this. It does feel like a finale, and if this was the true finale, I would have been completely satisfied with it, which I was for the longest time. But we got another finale, which I already talked about, and we know how that one turned out. So, moving on to number 3, I have Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I don't care if people hate me for putting this at number 3, because I know this movie is very divisive among fans. Some people feel it ruined the franchise, and that's why The Rise of Skywalker turned out the way it was. Well, guess what? Deal with it. I think The Last Jedi actually made the bold choices it needed to make to shake up the franchise. People complained that The Force Awakens was too much like Episode 4, and then when The Last Jedi tries to shake things up, people complain that it was too much not like Star Wars. So it made me realize fans don't know what they want. I'm pretty sure Rian Johnson thinks the same thing. Thankfully, nobody cares. Rian Johnson doesn't care what the fans think because he went Knives Out, and it was another incredible film that Rian Johnson made. I think people will look back at The Last Jedi one day like the way people did with Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back got terrible reviews when it first came out in theaters, and then people look back on it and realize, hey, you know what? That was a good movie. Or not just a good movie. Well, we'll get to that. Moving on to number 2, I have Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And yes, I have Revenge of the Sith at number 2. I love the prequels. I love all the Star Wars movies except for the Clone Wars movie. But Revenge of the Sith, I think, is the one where George Lucas had enough. He was tired of all the criticisms, and he said, let me show you what I can do. And yes, there's a little bit of wooden acting here and there, but I think it's out of all the 3 films, I think it's the best he wrote. I think it's the best he directed. I think it's the best acted from all of them. I think, Revenge, especially from Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Emperor, I think they really crush it. Hayden obviously has some difficulty, and so does Padme. But for the most part, look, I think the movie is a great, solid film. There is not one wasted scene in this entire movie. I can watch Revenge of the Sith and never get bored. Like, usually there's moments that make me a little bored. Like, the top 3 here, I think, are the 3 where I can honestly say that I never get bored. Maybe The Last Jedi, there's a few scenes. But Revenge of the Sith and the next one, obviously, I think these 2 are the best of the best. And I think if you are someone that never saw Revenge of the Sith in a long time, go back and watch it. I think it's a movie that deserves a second chance, especially since it's the actual film that we were all excited about to see, because the whole idea of the prequels was to see Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader, and that's the movie that gave us this. So. And you know what? Go and watch the Clone Wars TV series as well, because it adds a lot of development to the Anakin and Obi-Wan friendship, and I think you start to see that friendship form a lot in the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the TV show. And then, when you watch Revenge of the Sith, I think it makes their friendship a lot more stronger, especially the final battle there. So moving on to finally my number 1 movie on this list, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. So Empire Strikes Back, to no one's surprise, is my number 1 because I was hinting at it throughout this entire video. So what can I say? Yeah, Episode 5 is truly a great masterpiece of a Star Wars film. And I don't think a lot of fans will deny. I know a lot of people will put Return of the Jedi over Empire Strikes Back, but I'm one of the fanboys that will say, no, I get it. Empire Strikes Back is the best. So with that being said, guys, I think I'm pretty much done here. That was my list. I hope you guys can share your list in the comment section below. And look, don't trash each other. Don't trash me. We can all have different opinions on what we like and what we don't like, and no one's right or wrong. So with that being said, until next time, everybody, take care.